The research process, as we understand it today.
Step 1, conceptualization. We think there are 2 pillars of conceptualization. The first pillar, theory, what we use to help build our argument we plan on making. Pillar 2, positionality. Our positionality is many things, but includes a crucial piece of what brought us to this type of work, why we want to research what we are researching. These interests can emerge in different ways, from when we were in the classroom, personal experiences, or past research in the field. We both came to our research interests through working in the classroom. We worked with immigrant and refugee communities and were interested in the education they were receiving before they came to the U.S.
Step 2, research question and design. We're interested in using mixed methods in our future research. Mixed methods allows us to choose methods that are appropriate given the questions. For quantitative methods, we would be interested in studying social networks and the degree of connectedness between people in refugee camps and in schools. It's also crucial in our work to include the experiences of others, so qualitative methods can help us collect stories in our future work.
Step 3, data collection and field work. In collecting data for our future research projects, we are interested in longitudinal studies that allow us, outsiders in the communities that we will be researching, to develop rapport and build trust with participants. We would allow for many different ways of collecting data. We would conduct in-depth, semi-structured interviews, and along with all of these methods, ethnographic field notes from the classroom and daily life in the community would be collected. It is important to note that we both want to work in communities where we would be considered an outsider to many. We both find it very important to have participants involved in the research process as co-researchers. We would carefully identify gatekeepers in the communities to ensure that the research process is centered around the wants and needs. We do see some future barriers of doing work in these communities. How do we navigate the IRB consent from individuals who cannot write? And also navigate cultural and legal requirements that may exist in the country where we are doing research.
Step 4, data analysis. We learned this quarter about the importance of triangulating our data. We would collect data from many different sources. In addition to triangulating the data, we would build a research team that goes through the data, codes interviews, and separates them separately to check and ensure reliability. We both find it essential to also perform member checks with our data. Things could get lost in translation or misinterpreted, and it's important to accurately represent the participants' experiences.
Step 5, presenting and explaining findings. The first people who should have findings of the research is the community where the research was done. Communicating the findings can be tricky, especially when we find ourselves working with a population that has low literacy rates. Instead of the findings being only text, we could include graphs and conversations around the findings. Presentations of findings should be culturally responsive, which will include translations of findings into the native language. Because the findings from this research came from experiences from the community, we think it would be important for the community to get recognition in the presentations of the findings. This may present itself through recording of the participants, sharing their personal experiences, or the physical presence of participants at conferences where the information is shared. Of course, this brings up confidentiality issues, and we're curious of how these issues of confidentiality should be dealt with in specific communities.
This is how we see the research process, using examples from our own research interests, for today at least.